Awesome. So today, pretty pumped to have a great conversation with my good friend, Kalan Savill. And Kalan, you started in real estate 2008 originally,
Yep.
and then you joined Remax mid 2010, and it's been upward and onward since then, which has been awesome. Consistently a 20 to 30 deal producer annually. I think 100% club, but looking at platinum, hopefully for this upcoming year, should be a knockout year for you. Yeah.
Betcha. Yep.
Awesome. So I'm pretty excited. We're going to change things up a little bit for this session, and Kalen's going to talk to us about what resources any good agent should use, but especially that he uses to help educate himself and also his clients on their property, and also for his buyers who are considering making a large investment. And so I think this is a really, really great session, not only for new agents, but for some of the experienced agents that maybe don't even know that some of these resources exist, and most of them are free to the public and available to use, right? And so I think this is an awesome session. We will rapid fire through a bunch of them, and so obviously we want to deep dive into them. We can all do a second video about some of the specific ones that we're going through, and otherwise just play with it, right? Like just go on the site and mess around and Google your own place or whatever you had to do, right?
Yeah, that's right. Well, what I was thinking on it, like I know when I got started in real estate it took me probably 4 or 5 years before I didn't have that gut feeling when you're meeting someone where you just don't feel like you know enough, right? And so what I was thinking, even for new agents, if you want to just use some of these things to prepare for it, it's beyond just MLS. These are just the sites that I find myself going to all the time. I'd actually be interested to see, what some of the other agents are using, because I mean, this is just kind of what I ended up at, eh?
Right.
So what I was thinking of doing is if we can, I'll just kick through a few different types of properties and just give an idea of where I find stuff. And then I think it's applicable to almost any area you might find yourself in. You can search these same resources and I think you'll find something similar.
Great, I think that's awesome. Let's go ahead and share your screen up, and we'll take a look through that.
Okay, perfect. That work?
Yeah, see you just perfectly. You bet.
Okay, awesome. So first one I was thinking here, if you're working if I'm working in the city of Edmonton, one of the things I use a ton is the city of Edmonton's mapping site, and you can just kick into any address here. I just use this one because this is an area that I just did a new home build.
Mm-hmm.
And so for this one, this is the address. This actually wasn't the exact address I was working on, but you go into maps.city.edmonton, you type in the address, and then what it does, it gives you some pretty good info and it's clickable info that if you want to find out more about something, all you have to do is go through here. You can see the neighborhood. Actually, it's kind of kicked out here. It's covered by this thing. I'll try and move that. Yeah. And so like you have the Riverview ASP, the area structure plan, the neighborhood structure plan. When you click on these things, it takes you to a whole nother window that gives you better in-depth detail. And good thing about it is it can show you maps. So if you're wondering what's coming up in the future, this will lay it out for you.
Right.
The NSP, neighborhood structure plan, goes into a little bit more detail, and you've got nearby applications so you can see what's going on in the area. So I find myself using that quite a bit. The other thing I find helps me kind of get a grip on some neighborhoods, and the best two I could queue up is Mayfield and Britannia Youngstown. These were in the west side, and if you drive these neighborhoods, you can notice a real difference between them. And I attribute it mostly to the ownership versus rent ratio. And if you look at it, the own versus rent is 80-20 and 34-66. I find this is a really valuable thing just to give you a clearer picture of how that neighborhood actually is. The correlation between ownership ratio and the quality of the neighborhood seems to be quite high. And this is just YEGishome.ca/community. This here is just the overall view of the area structure plans. I've done a little Word document here that it has all these different links. And so I'll just share that with Shane. And if you guys want to click through, that's just the ones I use most frequently.
Great.
So that's for just a single family detached in the city, and then kicking over to Condo.
So this site here, sorry, this maps one here that you're looking at, why are you going on this one?
So this is just from the City of Edmonton site. So this gives you an idea of what area structure plans are where. So then if you're working in a particular area, you can just bring up this site. It shows you what area structure plans are there. But the quicker way to do it is if you just go into the maps.edmonton.ca, type the address, then go into the general, and it will actually give you the details on just that property, as well as any overlays. So sometimes you'll be working in an area like a mature neighborhood, and you click onto that, and that has more stringent zoning criteria than just, I say, a new neighborhood.
Right.
And so
especially if you're looking to do like infill and do some major renovations or additions, things like that, right? Really play in.
Exactly, and it kind of makes it easy where like this one here is zoned RSL, so then you can click on that and it just takes you to the excerpt from the land use bylaw for Edmonton. And even these are all clickable links, but then beyond that, you can actually go into the land use bylaw, and I've got the link in here, and then you can bring up that zoning, and it'll show you like the size of lot, size of frontage you need to do, you know, a duplex or single family detached or whatever you need. Eh?
Great, real handy.
Gotcha. And then so I'll kick over to condos now, and I kind of want to give you the quick and dirty on some of these things. So the one I thought, this is one that I worked on not too long ago, so I'm familiar with it, so I thought I would use it. So usually when I'm listing a condo, I just straight up search this. That gives you your plan number. You can copy and paste that, and then you go into spin. And this I find is a really valuable resource. You can just go plan block and lot number, copy and paste your plan. This unit here, again, that shows you here, it's unit 15, right? And you can just type that into spin. You hit search and it'll bring up this. This is valuable because you can see the current condominium plan sheet. And if you click on that, this will usually say the management company's name. So if you're prepping for a listing, that's the way to find out who's managing that building right now. In this case, of course, it's the one I pick. It doesn't have the name of it, but it does have the address of them. So you can just copy and paste that, and then you can just kick over to Google and type that into there and see whose management name comes up. And in this case, it's economy management. So
okay, so it looks like they haven't registered themselves with land titles as the property management company.
Exactly.
Right.
And then if you want to get into the plan for the building, you hit search, survey plans. You can just go plan number, and then you paste that plan. Oh, pardon me. Gotta go back and grab the right plan number here. You do plan number and you just paste that into here. And where this is really valuable, I find, is when you're pricing a place out, before you even go to that building, you can see all the info on it. And so I have this queued up. This is sort of the rough plan is the preview, but I've actually bought this plan when I listed this place. So here's a copy of that plan after you buy it, and you can see how clear it is, right?
Right.
And then on here, it shows you each of the units, the unit numbers, the unit factors, and then it gives you the registered size. But the other thing it does is if you click down to second page, it'll show you each unit. So in this case, this was unit 15. So I could see, okay, it's a southwest facing unit because that's its legal unit number, and it squares, right?
Right, easy, yeah.
When I'm looking at the sold comparables, then I can also look at the legal plan for those ones, and I can tell exactly where that building is and where that unit in the building is. And then same thing, you can just kick over to Google and do the aerial view, and you can see exactly what that unit would be looking at.
Nice, handy. Well, and one of the things too, everyone, I mean, you probably mentioned it, but like I would use that floor plan to help me do the measurements, right? Like, why not, right? Like, hey, let's see how this matches up. Let's fill in my actual numbers with the floor plan that's already designed here, right? And then we can also pull that as an office. So any of the reception can pull the condo plan sheet as discussed, as well as the condo plan. And it's quite easy to obtain that information. Absolutely.
For sure. And yeah, to your point, Shane, there, like I find for measuring these out, because it's your interior paint to paint measurements, is you just zoom that up, hit print, and then just do the print of just that screen. And then when you're there, you don't have to draw out anything. It's like literally take your laser measure and you're off to the races. Eh?
Yeah. Quick verification, and you're set with RMS, right? So yeah, it's great.
Exactly. And then the other thing that this does is it tells you if the parking is titled or assigned, because sometimes that can be listed wrong, or you have to figure that one out. And so here you can see like these are all your individual titled stalls here. And then the other thing is if you look for stuff like that, that's titled storage. Eh? And so it just gives you to me, I find it's a good pregame before you go into a listing to say, okay, like I know it's got titled parking, and then I know there's titled storage, so they're just questions to ask the owner. And then this is the actual, just the underground shot of it. And this also will tell you, like in this case, this building has storage in front of them, but you can see that that's the exterior wall. So you know that the titled storage is included in that parking stall, because the parking stall goes right to the exterior wall, right?
Yep.
So
That's good stuff.
those types of things I just found really valuable. And even when you're working with a buyer, just to make sure you're not guessing on these things. What else here? Location of the building. And then the next thing I thought I would kick into is just acreages. So with this one, this is an acreage. This is out by actually Elk Island Park, and it's nice because it's really easy to find. So it's nice for resources. So with this, okay, that's the listing sheet. I've got the plan, so then same thing, like I can go, you can either use Spin for this, or what I find, every county has GIS sites. And so geographic information system. Don't quote me on that.
Okay.
So this is Strathcona County's GIS, and this also works for the city of Sherwood Park because that's actually Strathcona County. And so what you can do with this one, I find the best way to search it is by the link number. So you've got your link number on the MLS sheet over here. So just copy that, right? Go over, type that in, hit search. It'll take you to that link number, so you know that that's the property you're looking at. And it gives you, you can toggle this on for whichever view. I always keep it to the aerial view because then you can actually see what those lot lines are superimposed on a map. For acreage showings, I find this just invaluable. Like when you show up to that property, I always print this out as big as you can, and then you can have your phone up with Google Aerial View. And as you're showing someone an acreage, you can be walking around and you can reference things like, well, you can reference a line like that, right? You can be standing there and you can kind of point out certain features in it, and you can really show people where your lot lines are, where otherwise it's really hard to tell.
That's great. Absolutely great. Yeah.
And then it gives you a little bit more data here, so you can see the acreage and these types of things. In this one in particular, so that's sort of, I guess, step one. The other thing I like to do is you go onto Spin and you can see, this is Spin here. You can go survey plans, plan number, and then you just type in the plan number there, and then you can actually view that plan number.
Without having to pay for it, which is great. Yeah.
Exactly. And so that gives you an idea of what's there. But the other view I like better is if you go search, and then you go survey plans and you do the map search. Then you just paste in that plan number into that map search. And what this will show you is road right-of-ways, as well as if you see any pipelines or anything like that, they'll show up on this map. So I find this is a good one to kind of catch things that aren't showing on the aerials necessarily.
Perfect.
And then this one here, part of the reason I wanted to show this one was that this one had an easement registered on title. And so this easement, the long and the short of it is it took up a bunch of the land actually. And so using these resources, what I was able to do is give the aerial views of this property and show where this easement was, because it was 204 meters from the front, and then it was 40 meters from the north. So then I could just bring up on Google, and it's got a measurement function, and you can actually show where that easement is, and it shows that it squares with this line. And so that was one, and then the other one was this here, and it was from the north. And so you can actually show those measurements on there, and then it shows you where that easement is. And this was a copy of the easement. So this shows the map of it. Sorry, you kind of have to kick down and get to the actual map. And so this is that same map, but it's not a real user-friendly map, right? And so, right? So using with the measurements that they give you, and it is noted in here if you read the fine print, then you can bring up the aerial view, do the aerial measurements. You'll be within a couple feet anyways, close enough for people, right? Not if any lawyer watches this video, but that's besides the point. But
we'll just make sure that no lawyers are allowed to watch this.
That's right. Yeah, there's a key. And then beyond that, the other thing with acreages is one, the AER site. So that's the Alberta Abandoned Wells. And so this is something this might be a little premature if you're just doing a showing, but I find anytime you're writing an offer, I'll always kind of have a quick peek at this database. The reason I like this one is because it's super easy to find, because it bordered onto Elk Island Park, right? So it's at 16 in Elk Island Park. So where we at 16 here. So basically that property sits right here. And so what I'm looking for is just, is there any abandoned wells on it? there's nothing showing there, but if it did, it looks like that, right? And then you can click on it, you can see who the company is, its current status, you can get additional details. The other thing you can do is your water well. So same thing, you've got this map, you can zoom in, and this is just if it has a drilled water well anywhere on the property. And because this is just where this property is, I know I've already kicked in your legal here. So Southeast 135321-4, that lines up with your Paragon, right? That's up here. So if you kick that in and you hit search, that'll bring up everything on that quarter, because these things aren't really pegged that accurately. And so if you can bring it up on that quarter, and then just from what I did ahead of time, I know that this is the one. You kind of have to reciprocate the data just to say, okay, and of course, no, this is the right one. So this was built in 1999. This was the only well that was drilled in that era. So that probably is the right well, and it'll give you all your data for that well. So,
oh, that's great.
Yeah, I find it's pretty handy that way. And then, so that's just straight up, if you're doing an acreage, those are some of the databases I use. The other cool one, actually, Parkland County to the west of the city, they've got Discover Parkland. It's this mapping site. This is actually a piece of land that I've been working on. Where this is super useful is that they've got all these different layers. So you can search it, you know, via the rural address, the legal, the plan, the block, whatever you want to do. You hit Discover Parcels and find it. I've already got this queued up just to show you some info, but you can show yourself the land use district. So if you're in that county, you bring up a piece of land and you can see that this has an overlay over it. This is just for a floodplain. You can kick that off. You can see if there's any environmentally significant areas, and it'll overlay it onto the map as well. And it's taking a little bit too long, but so that's an environmentally significant area. And then you can also have your wetland inventory, which I find pretty useful, even just to keep your head up on when you're walking around, to say, hey, this is likely a wet spot, you know, and this gives you an idea of what that is. There's current and historic there. The other cool thing with this is you can do areas, and you can superimpose polygons on the map. And I've kind of actually designed a subdivision using that data. It's crazy how useful it is. Give you an example. So this is where I wanted to plot a house on that parcel. That's the size of the house. I was able to just measure it out. You can move that polygon along, and you can figure out your setbacks from any of these different overlays, right? To make sure that you've got something far enough and that the land's actually usable for what the person wants to use it for.
Wonderful. Yeah, absolutely. That's great.
So they're pretty useful databases. Those are sort of for specific types of properties. The other things that I find really useful is this. With the service, if you have any acts or anything you have to look up, the Service Alberta site I find is really good for that. Warranty guidelines. This is for the Alberta New Home Warranty Performance, maybe not Alberta, but a warranty guideline here, just to give you an idea of what's a warrantable issue or not. And then actually I use this a lot, and it's from my home inspector. So one of the inspectors I use a lot, it's a closer look inspections, and he has this report, and I'm sure any of your guys' inspectors might have this. At the end of the report, there's all of these different links to just more information. And when you click on those links, it has really good information on just how things are done. And I know for myself, getting into real estate, like I had some background in construction, so I had an idea, but even so, there was a ton of stuff I was just unsure of, right? And this database of all these different links, it's really helped me understand and just be able to answer questions better when I'm on showings. And so you can click on any of those, and it gives you, like, this is a good example for acreages, like how to set up a water system with a well, right? And it explains the components and shows you what they do. And then when you're standing there, you know, in the utility room, you can actually tell people, hey, like, this is how this is set up and done. And I find it goes a long ways.
Yeah, I think it's important to be able to not only one, show your knowledge, but also to be to have some insight of what could be done wrong, you know, ahead of time. It's like, hey, let's anticipate the fact that, you know, this roofing system is probably looks installed incorrectly. I would want to red alert that before we even start getting deep diving into that. Or like, hey, I can clearly see that this hot water tank is at least 30 years old. It has a lifespan of 10 years, so it's past its life expectancy. Like, it's just, I think that just plays into your knowledge, right? So like, it's incredible to know where those resources are and to be able to access them when you need them. So that's great.
Exactly. And so I'll share this to you after, and however a person can access, because then you don't have to guess. But the same resources for every town and county. There's a few of the smaller ones don't have quite this level, but most of them you can find a GIS site, and SPIN is province wide. So, you can kick into that and get a lot of good info too.
Yeah. Well, the only other thing I would say on SPIN is that, and it can save your client a bit of cash, is that their registered bylaws are on that condo plan sheet you talked about. And so SPIN only charges $10, where most condo corps or property management companies, $150 for condo docs. So
Easy.
yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, for sure. So
super great, man. That's pretty awesome. I appreciate it. We knocked that out real quick. Obviously, people can pause and rewind it, because we were talking pretty fast on some of this. But great way to share some resources. And I think that there could be some more chat on here of additional, hey, I like this, or have you looked at this site and stuff like that. And so I think a great topic of conversation, and really appreciate your insight. And obviously a true professional does research for his clients. So if you are looking to buy or sell and want an amazing agent like Kalan, or exactly Kalan, feel free to reach out to him for sure. And as always, we're here to help you. And if you're an agent that just wants to pick his brain or dig a little deeper, he's a great resource, and I'm sure he'd be happy to have a quick chat, or you could buy the guy a beer. I think would be great.
Yeah, for sure. I'm more of a whiskey man, but yeah, that'll work.
Whiskey. There you go. Awesome. I think that's incredible. I can't thank you enough for sharing today and your insights. And I know your time is valuable, and I very much appreciate that.
All right, thanks, Shane. Have a good day.
Okay. All right, man. We'll talk to you real soon.
Bet you. See you.